And a very warm welcome back, Salarah here. I'm super excited to share with you today something that I've been pondering on the best way to bring it forward to you to help you in your manifestation practice. It's taken me years to understand this. So my aim is to save you a little bit of time so you know exactly where to go for your next step in order to help you create more traction within your manifestation practice and help you to reach your goals a little bit quicker. Because I have a lot of people in my coaching practice saying that they feel stuck, or they get the opposite of what they want, or it seems like it's really hard to get the traction that they want in their practice. And when it comes to the law of attraction, I see so many people working really hard and really showing up for themselves, willing to do the journaling, willing to do the meditation, willing to do the nervous system relaxation, willing to do the breath work, going on retreats, doing the deeper healing. But so many are still feeling stuck. And they're feeling stuck. Clearly, it's got nothing to do with their ability or whether they're doing something wrong or not. Sometimes it's just about having the next level of understanding. It's unlocking the next level of consciousness. It's having one piece of information that can help everything slot into place. And sometimes listening to an episode like this, if you just take one thing away from it, it could be the difference that makes a difference in your manifesting practice. Now, what I've noticed in my own practice and my clients is we're taught that manifestation is pretty much all about mindset. And mindset is great, of course. Think better thoughts, we hear. Stay positive, we hear. All we got to do is just visualize what you want. We hear that so much. And yeah, that is a part of it, but it's definitely not the whole picture, because your reality isn't just created from your thoughts. It plays a big role, a big part in it, but it's not just that. It's created from your holistic state of being. It's created from your mind. It's created from your body. It's created from your emotions, and it's created from something much bigger than that. The universe, the divine, spirituality. There's a spiritual essence to a lot of this as well. So all of those are creating a deeper connection. They're all interwoven and they're all working together. So if we just focus on one aspect of it, we are no doubt going to feel feelings of frustration. We're no doubt going to feel like things are just taking forever. We're no doubt going to feel like we're not really getting the richness out of our practice, because there are three other areas that if we were to understand and focus on, it can really help us to reach our goals and up our game. So today I'm going to break this conversation down into 4 pillars. And this is the way that I have understood this over the years. And the idea is to help you see where your energy might be out of alignment, where you might be focusing more on one area, but there's another area that could do with a little bit of attention too, that can help to elevate your practice as well. And my aim is to give you something really simple to work with. So it's not this big, complex, convoluted, energetic understanding of quantum physics. It's something really down to earth and practical. So as you're listening, you may notice that one of these pillars is where your attention is being called to focus on right now. As I share the pillars, they're in no order of importance whatsoever. All of the information that I'm sharing is based on my experience and working with thousands of people over the years. One size doesn't fit all. So it's definitely important for you to follow your own instincts with what I'm about to share as well. So pillar 1 is the mental layer. Let's call it the mindset layer, if you like. This is where our thoughts, in fact, there's a lovely little saying. Let me see if I can remember it. Our mind is the garden. Our thoughts are the seeds. You can plant the flowers or you can plant the weeds. So that kind of summarizes the mental layer up absolutely beautifully. Because yes, the thoughts we think do play a massive role. Are you focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want? Are you seeing challenges as opportunities to grow? Are you seeing them as the making of you instead of the breaking of you? Thoughts are powerful. There's absolutely no denying that. And also the way that we interpret life, based a little bit on what I've said, making you or breaking you, turning your garbage into your gifts, your purpose into your to your purpose. This is really the way that we interpret life. This is also the meaning that we give to things as well. Say, for example, something happens, and because of your programming and because of your belief patterns, you've interpreted it in a certain way. Most people end up interpreting something like, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I'll never amount to anything. And that's a program that we have running subconsciously. I'm going to get onto that a little bit more later on in the episode. So we give things meaning based on what we have experienced in the past. That's a lot of the emotional layer, which you'll see how these all weave in to each other. So the stories that we repeat in our head, the arguments that we have with people that aren't even there. I hear so many people saying, I was having an argument with my mother-in-law and she wasn't even in the room. It was just based on a story I was telling myself about how she would react to me baking the cake. Our mind, it can either liberate us and free us, or it can create a feeling of fear and anxiety that can riddle through us. And two people, they can go through exactly the same situation and they can walk away with completely different experiences. And that's mainly down to how that they have framed that situation in their mind. Have they seen it as an opportunity to grow? Have they seen it that there's something wrong with them and that they are defeated and that they're never going to overcome? Your mindset, when you know how to nurture it, it will make a massive difference. It's either going to help you grow or it's going to keep you stuck. And when we talk about the law of attraction on this kind of more mental level, what we're really talking about is how you are processing the experience, or the experiences rather, that you are experiencing in your life. So you are either reinforcing lack or you are opening yourself up to possibility. Because your mind is like constantly filtering your reality. And this is where things like visualization come in, and they can really help or it can really hinder. Are you visualizing and focusing on the outcomes that you want to experience? Or are you focusing on what you don't want to experience? Are you scared the worst might happen and you're visualizing that as if it's going to happen and possibly even taking action to try and stop that thing that you've made up in your head from happening in the first place? So you see, like, our mind can either be this amazing place or it can actually hinder us in quite dramatic ways sometimes. So reframing is a really important part of the process. The mental sphere or the mental pillar is either glass half empty or glass half full. And this is where being willing to choose differently can be so powerful for you. You might be listening to this thinking, I have been focusing more on what I don't want recently rather than what I do want. I haven't really seen this challenge as an opportunity to grow. And actually, I have been focusing on what I don't want, visualizing what I don't want rather than visualizing what I do want. Because your mind is working in two ways. It's constantly rehearsing what could go wrong, or you can train yourself to rehearse what can go right. If you keep replaying the worst case scenarios, if you keep reinforcing this never works for me, I'm never going to amount to anything, it's still manifestation. Either way, you are manifesting something you do want, or you are manifesting something that you don't want. It's still focus. It just may not be focus in the area that's going to get you that traction. It might just keep you stuck in everything that you don't want to experience and potentially make it feel a lot worse at the same time. Because remember, your energy is always being directed somewhere. And this is where I often think about the battle of the two wolves with this mental sphere. Like, inside of us, there are two wolves. One wolf represents fear and worry and doubt and self-criticism and jealousy and scarcity. The other wolf represents freedom and trust and possibility and expansion and self-love and healthy communication and boundaries and self-belief. And in the Native American prophecy, the grandson asks his grandfather, he says, if there's two wolves inside of us, grandfather, which wolf wins? And he says, my son, whichever one you feed. So your mindset is all about which wolf are you feeding. And yes, you are human. You are bound to have days that you're not feeling particularly great. You're bound to have times in your life where things happen and you feel defeated. This isn't about bypassing the human experience. And you're going to see this in some of the other pillars. but you're going to know the difference. You're going to know when it's important to allow yourself to feel in order to heal. And other times you've just got in a bit of a bad habit of thinking negatively, and you really need to just get yourself back on the game when it comes to your mindset. Because this isn't about us becoming perfectly calm and enlightened. Yes, our life can feel calmer and we can feel more enlightened, but this is more just about allowing yourself to have a human experience as well as being able to observe your thoughts. I guess in a way also saying to tame your thoughts, to learn how to master your mind, and to create some space between you and some of the negative stories that you're telling yourself, so that you can pivot and redirect into feeling and thinking and feeling a bit more positively. So you're no longer completely run by your own mind in this way. And then moving on to the next pillar, there is a whole massive conversation around this particular pillar. This is the emotional layer. This is the energy beneath the thoughts. Quite often, this is the energy that drives the thoughts too. Because when it comes to manifestation, as Andy Dooley says, it's always feelings first, manifestation second. So if you think about it, when you feel a negative emotion, it creates negative thoughts. When you have negative thoughts, it creates negative emotions, because our feelings are feeding our thoughts and our thoughts are feeding our feelings. And so those two collectively are very, very powerful. It's a similar thing. If you're feeling really positive and upbeat, you have positive and upbeat thoughts in the main. When you're having positive and upbeat thoughts, you're feeling positive and upbeat feelings. You can see what I mean by everything is kind of like interwoven. Now, the emotional layer is where we go deeper, because your thoughts, as I've explained, they don't just exist in isolation. They absolutely fuel everything. And this is where a lot of manifestation work, unless we understand the emotional layer, it can stay quite surface level. There's this idea that you just need to feel good all the time and just focus on joy and, just think happy thoughts, think, I mean, how lovely would that be if that was the case? We are humans. We're having an extraordinary human experience. There's always going to be changeables in our reality, which change how we think and change how we feel, sometimes in an instant. You could be walking down the road, having a lovely time saying your affirmations and enjoying the sun shining down. And then, I don't know, somebody might hoot really loud and snap you out of it. And because of that, then you're now gone into some kind of fight or flight, and we're not always in control of outside circumstances. I guess that's where I'm going with this. So how lovely would it be to stay high vibe all the time? It's, in my experience, and this isn't me being negative, I think this is me just being real. It's absolutely normal to have a whole host of different feelings. To one moment feel joyful and optimistic, and the next moment maybe a phone call or maybe you were interrupted, to then feel irritated or frustrated. It's how we manage this and the deeper work beneath some of these experiences that can help minimize the effect of outside infiltrations, if you like. If you have a lot of unresolved emotion from your past, then your manifestation practice is going to feel a lot harder. It's going to take a lot longer for you to get the results you want. You might get the opposite of what you want. You might not get what you want at all, because your feelings and your emotions, it's a bit like an iceberg. You don't see the massive ice underneath the surface of the water. Now, if you have had quite a lot happen in your past, and there's a lot of negative messages that have been formed as a result of that, that is going to be your dominant emotional vibration that is constantly sending out waves to the universe. And then you're going to get matching experiences back to match the emotional energy that you have. Because underneath the mental layer, underneath the positive thinking, there's this tension. There's a protection. There's like a resistance. This is where many of us unintentionally sabotage ourselves. If there's something unresolved, your emotions and your body and your energy know it. And that's what's sending out the invisible frequency signals to the universe, if you like. So when we talk about the emotional pillar of the law of attraction, we're not talking about forcing happiness, because you can't, but we are talking about honesty. Like, what do you actually feel at certain times in your life experience? Do you feel like you're never quite getting ahead? Do you feel like you're not quite good enough? Do you feel like you don't really have what it takes? Do you feel no matter how hard you try, you don't get the results that you want? Do you feel like you have to overperform in order to prove your worth? And underneath a lot of this could be, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I don't matter. Obviously, there's good programs there as well, right? And we want to keep all of those. Unless we do some work on this deeper emotional layer, and sometimes need to go into some traumatic events maybe that have happened in the past, because energetically they are still very alive in our emotional layer. And that's what makes it so hard to override it. And that's what makes it feel so frustrating. And that's what makes us feel stuck a lot of the time too, because a lot of people, without knowing that this emotional layer is potentially what is holding them back, they get these feelings, quite often born from the subconscious, and whether it's anxiety or fear or having to prove worth and all the other examples I've given a moment ago, and then they end up preemptive striking. This is what Robert Fritz in his book, The Path of Least Resistance, terms preemptive striking is all about. We think we're manifesting, but actually we are scared that a certain outcome may happen. So then we take action to try and prevent the outcome from happening. So all we're ever really doing is problem solving. We're never really stepping into true and powerful manifestation just for the joy of it and creation's sake. We're doing it because we're trying to stop something we don't want from happening. And a lot of the time as well, we're not used to feeling these deeper feelings. And let's be honest, they can be uncomfortable when you're not used to feeling, especially if you grew up in a household where emotions weren't really spoken about, where your emotions weren't really validated. This can make it feel super uncomfortable. And that's when we get into avoiding the deeper feelings. And that avoidance is a self-protection mechanism, but unfortunately, it doesn't resolve the heavy energy that is still sitting in our emotional pillar, which is weighing our frequency down and stopping us from raising our vibrations, because your energy won't lie. This is a really important thing to pay attention to, is the experiences that you are noticing in your reality are a direct reflection of your emotional layer. It's a direct reflection of all of the layers, but it's a reflection of some of the beliefs that maybe haven't been acknowledged yet, that are working on a deeper level. So you may have this amazing desire and all these goals and dreams and amazing ideas that light you up. But if it is driven by preemptive striking, so AKA fear, if it's driven by lack, if it's driven by the need to escape something, if it's driven by the need to prove or validate your worth, that's going to create a completely different experience. You won't get the results that you want. And that's when you can't keep pretending to feel good. But what is important in this emotional layer is allowing what is there underneath in the mass of the main part of the iceberg, the emotional layer, is allowing that to move, allowing yourself to process sadness, allowing yourself to process feelings of frustration, of disappointment, of guilt, of grief, of overwhelm. Because when those emotions are allowed to move up and out, your whole vibrational frequency shifts and changes. And a lot of your manifestations will then come to you with so much more ease and so much more effortless grace. And you'll really enjoy the practice too. And you won't be so hell-bent on outcomes, because you'll just be enjoying the process of being the creator of your reality. You're not going to have to try hard to feel aligned. it's just going to feel much more natural, and your manifestations are going to start to feel less forced and more like a reflection of the empowered, lighter being that you have become. So that's the emotional layer. There's loads more that I can say on that as well, which is going to lead me now into the physical layer. So pillar number 3, this is the physical layer. This is all connected very much to your nervous system. For those of you who have been listening to my podcast for some time now, you'll know that there's been quite a heavy focus on nervous system regulation, which plays a really important part in manifestation. And this is the pillar that can absolutely change everything, especially when you really understand what is going on. And there's so much I can say on this. So I'm just going to give you an overview of it. But if you are interested to dive a bit deeper, you can book in a one-to-one consultation. I'm going to start working with new clients as of June. I've had a little bit of a wait list, but there should be some space coming up then. So if you want to book a 30-minute free consult, we can have a chat. If I can help, brilliant. If I need to signpost you somewhere else, which I feel might be better for you, then I'll do that as well. But the most important thing is to at least have a conversation. So your body is not separate from the manifestation process. Your body is actually a huge part of the manifestation process. Your nervous system is constantly scanning your environment, asking, am I safe? And depending on your answer, your whole entire state of being can shift in an instant. Now, your nervous system might be completely familiar with chaos. It might be familiar with uncertainty and instability. Therefore, if chaos, instability, and uncertainty are familiar, your nervous system is going to feel safe creating more of that. If feelings of peace and calm and abundance are unfamiliar, your nervous system is going to work hard to block that, because all it's going to see is something unfamiliar, which means it's unsafe. So doing the deeper work in the emotional layer is going to be really, really important for this layer as well. So again, you can see how they kind of all interweave with one another. Because if your body is in survival mode, it doesn't matter how much journaling you do, how many affirmations you say, it doesn't matter how much you visualize, because underneath it all, your system is operating from self-protection. Your energy field has contracted. You're in a state of hypervigilance, and that creates a very, very different energetic baseline. When you are in survival mode, that's when cortisol, adrenaline, lactate, all those stress hormones flood your system, which over a long period of time are actually very poisonous. That's when we are almost driven to just survival living. We don't eat well. We don't sleep well. We fill our bodies with food that doesn't nourish us, doesn't fuel us properly. We might even start to notice physical ailments, dis-ease in our body, whether it be aches and pains, whether it be random illnesses, whether it's having constant coughs and colds, whether it's migraines. Our body will always talk to us and let us know that we are somewhere and somehow out of balance. So all of this is, I guess, summarizing like how can we help you to get familiar with experiences that your nervous system's currently blocking but are actually really good for you. But also, how can you interpret the signs and signals that your body is sending you to help give you an indicator of how much you're in stress response, but also where to go in order to grow. What do I mean by that? Is the mind-body connection. Like the work of Louise Hay and some other great teachers quite often speak about our physical ailments, how they are pointing to unresolved emotional pain and tension. That in itself can open up a whole new world for you. And if a lot of this is unresolved, as you can see, it's influencing so many different things. It's influencing how you move your body or how you don't move your body. It influences what you put into your body. Even the food you put in your body has a frequency. So if you're just eating processed foods, if you're eating snacks, if you're eating a whole load of sugar, all of those are lower vibrational foods, and they're not helping your body to operate optimally. And as a result of that, putting you physically more into survival mode, probably affecting how you're feeling mentally as well, because food affects what goes on in the brain. Again, it's the gut psychology syndrome. Like sometimes you'll eat something and you just kind of feel really brain foggy, or maybe some people experience what I call a wheat wobble and get moody. What we put in our body affects how we feel. It affects how we think. It can affect everything. Of course, the mental layer is all about like, how much rest are you getting? Are you pushing yourself? Are you forcing? What kind of pace are you living life? Even going back to the food conversation, even when you eat, are you just shoveling it down as quickly as you can? Are you rushing? Are you distracted? Are you disconnected? Or are you actually present in your environment? Because all of this is feeding into your nervous system. And your nervous system, like I said, feeds into your emotional state, feeds into your mental state. So again, you can see how, yes, I'm separating them into 4 pillars, but how they all link and connect with one another. So to get to a point where your body can start feeling safe, it's really looking at, what part have I mentioned today that has spoken to you? Have you noticed that maybe you're kind of leaning more towards the faster food rather than looking after yourself? Have you noticed that certain foods actually do make you feel like you have this massive dip and this massive crash, maybe even feeling a little bit moody? Have you noticed that you've got certain kind of aches and pains which are unexplainable? So when you become more open to exploring this pillar and upping your own game, you will notice you feel more energized, more creative. You feel much more receptive. You feel like you don't really need to control anything anymore. Things happen a lot easier. You're not gripping and holding on so tightly. And from that place, your manifestations, they're not going to feel like something you're chasing. You're going to be in a state of allowing. And they are going to feel like fun and something that you are open and receptive and available for. That's a physical layer. Again, it's a brief overview, but just kind of trying to give a bit of an indicator just how expansive this whole manifestation practice is. And it isn't just about one area. And then the 4th pillar, remember, they're in no order of importance. They're all completely important, is the spiritual layer. So this is your deeper connection to life, to purpose, to your passion. This is the deeper connection to meaning and to your expansion. So the spiritual pillar, it can mean so many things. I'm not going to try and put it into a box and be rigid or try and define this, because there's so much richness to it. It's what gives life. You know that feeling inside when you just feel good and you feel upbeat, or that feeling when you might feel quite low? It's not just the emotional, it's how our spirit feels. This is also about the relationship that we have with something greater than ourselves, whether it's believing in the universe or God or divine, or that there's just something really beautiful and magical and good in this universe that we can't see, feel, hear, or touch it, but we know it's there because it feels alive and vibrant. This is about connection to something bigger. It's about trusting that life absolutely has your back. It's knowing that there's something out there. I don't know how, but I just feel like I'm being looked after, and I feel like I'm being guided, feeling like being supported by something bigger than ourselves, and allowing ourselves to develop a relationship with whatever that force might be. So we become a co-creator. So you're not feeling like everything is just falling on your shoulders. This is where we can invite this omnipresence into our practice. This is where it's important to give thanks for all the good that is going on in your life already. This is where having that sense of appreciation, this is where we ask for help. We're not meant to be doing this on our own. Saying, universe, thank you for, I always say thank you for rather than please can I, because thank you for is more empowering than please can I, which is more disempowering and placating and lacks belief. So for example, thank you, universe, for giving me the strength to put this positive practice into place. Thank you, universe, for showing me my next step. Thank you for showing me where I need to go in order to grow. Thank you for bringing me the information that I need in order to help my health to get better. Thank you for helping me to feel more positive today. Thank you for bringing me the right guidance and the right mentor and the right teacher into my pathway. Thank you for helping me to have determination. Thank you for filling me with inner power and inner strength. See, it's much more powerful. We're kind of giving thanks ahead of time, showing that we completely trust that what we want, the universe will help bring that to us. Now, this isn't about getting everything handed to us on a plate, which you probably know that already. This is about being a co-creator. This is about being an active participant in our experience and not expecting God or the universe to do everything for us, but actually showing up for ourselves at the same time, putting in the work, working with this powerful force to help us to move forward, but not expecting it to do everything for us. You'll notice you won't get any results from that anyway. And being that co-creative force, you'll notice you'll get a lot more traction as well. There is also an important part of this is to hand over some of your worries and some of the trust to this higher power. There might be a situation in your life that you've tried everything. You've tried X, Y, and Z, hasn't worked. You've tried, I don't know, D, X, and Y, hasn't worked either. And sometimes you got to just say, you know what, universe, you know what, God, I've tried everything. There's nothing more that I can do. There's nothing that I can say. I'm going to hand this over to you, and I'm going to trust that whatever happens, it's working out for my highest good. And know that when we pray or when we have a chat with this higher power and we ask for certain outcomes, we're not just handed it on a plate, but we might be shown where we need to go and do some clearing. There might be unresolved stuff from our past that we do need to process. Maybe we've got stuck in a negative loop and need to start focusing on what we do want rather than what we don't want. As you can see, there's a whole host, there's so many different ingredients that we can put together to help make a powerful manifestation. And this is about showing up for ourselves. But this particular pillar is also making that connection with this higher power in whatever way feels right for you. I'm a great believer that your spiritual connection, it's not just found in stillness and in meditation. I love those things, don't get me wrong, but it's found in things that light you up. Spending time with people that leave you feeling energized and alive, in the food that you eat, in the micro moments of your day, maybe just sitting in complete presence with your beloved pet, whatever that might be, spending time in nature, moments where you can almost lose track of time, certain things and feelings and activities that bring you back to yourself. Because this is where your elevation and your expansion live as well. Is doing things that light you up, doing things that bring you joy, doing things that make you feel alive, and also stopping things that zap your joy, stopping things like stop saying yes when you mean no, stop trying to people please. There's so many things that we also do, which is connected to the emotional pillar as well, that actually stop us from creating space and time for ourselves because we're so busy trying to keep everybody else happy at the detriment of ourselves. When we focus on all of this, your manifestation is going to become so much less effort because you are going to be so much more in alignment. So when we look at these 4 pillars, the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, it's definitely not about mastering them all at once. It's impossible. I'm still working my way through so many aspects of all the different pillars. But it is about noticing where your energy is asking for attention right now. Have you been too focused on one area and you haven't paid attention to another area? How can you start being more consistent across all 4 pillars? Because like I say, they're all connected. They're all speaking to one another. Your thoughts influence your emotions influence your body influences your emotions, your body influences your thoughts, it influences your openness influences your connection, and it just keeps looping on much deeper levels than I've been able to describe today. So if something feels stuck in your life, instead of asking what on earth am I doing wrong, the more powerful question might be, which pillar am I being invited to look at next? Am I creating stories in my mind? Have I got emotions that I haven't fully allowed to be met? Am I not looking after my body in the way that my body's asking for right now? have I severed, or do I even have a connection with a higher power? Because when you shift one of them, you will absolutely effectuate change across the board. So if you take anything from today, this is not about controlling your reality. It's about becoming someone who is fully available for it. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, it doesn't just happen in your mind. It happens through your whole entire being on all 4 levels. So remember, instead of just trying to fix one thing, choose one pillar, get curious about it, and then begin working with it. So I trust this has been useful to you. I'm really looking forward to being back with you. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or you want to reach out, give me a shout. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. And I will be back with you same time next week. All right, take care for now. Lots of love.